So I'll go ahead and call to order this meeting of the Bloomington Commission on Sustainability for Tuesday, May 10th, 2020. Right now we have 4 members of the commission, which does not meet quorum. Trying to think, is there, I forget from last time, was there a specific way that we did roll call or anything from last time, Lauren?
We can just go around and call roll. We won't be able to vote on approving agenda or anything, but that's all right.
Okay. I'll just go through my Zoom or I guess should I call the whole list or what should I do here?
You can just call the names on the side of the screen.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah.
Okay, so commissioners in attendance, we have Ethan Horvath, Jared Alexander, Corbin Baird. Also joining us is Lauren Travis and Marnina Patrick. So I guess moving on, since we do not have a quorum, I guess we'll just kind of go through, kind of move ahead past the approval of agenda and approval of minutes. And we'll go to public comment. Is there anyone on Zoom or Facebook that would like to participate in public comment?
I don't see anyone yet, but I'll check the comments and let you know if there's anyone else that has a question.
Okay. Moving right along, let's see, the report from chair. So I do not have anything to report at this moment. So again, we can just move right along. And then, so the report from Economic and Sustainable Development. Lauren, is there anything you'd like to share with the group?
Yeah, sure. So this year, and I think we had mentioned it briefly in the last meeting, but we were planning on doing our climate action plan. And even though there's been some delays, we had initial kickoff meeting of some stakeholders that happened last week. So that will be happening from now and to a draft report in October. And as things come out, I can present them to the group. So next meeting, if we can set aside some time, there was a climate survey that was sent out to residents or online. But we had about 400 some responses, both in people's awareness and perception of climate change, and then support for various policies and public investments that the city might make. And so I think we could set aside like maybe 10 to 15 minutes for next meeting, and I can just walk through what those were for the commission. But that will be finalized by the end of the year, which is important during this period of time and moving forward to establish priorities for 2021. So this was a goal of the Sustainability Action Plan under the section about both having greater public awareness in the community about climate change, its effects, and what we can do about it. And it will be really specific to the ways that Bloomington will be affected locally, to the level of, which neighborhoods are most vulnerable, which populations within those neighborhoods have vulnerability to different types of climate impacts, whether it's heat or flooding, et cetera. So that's happening, and I think it'll be great to tie this group into that. And then beyond that, in terms of what's going on at the County Environmental Commission, they did delay their June meeting, but there will be a presentation at their meeting from someone from the Environmental Resilience Institute. And so I can send out details of that. It's on Zoom as well for those that are interested, and I'll report back on that as well. But they're going to have their July meeting, which normally is summer recess for them, just because they're also behind with scheduling. They had to cancel a couple meetings. Aside from that, the budget process will be happening this summer, something to keep an eye on to establish funding for 2021, and each department will be presenting their budget, but that's kind of an ongoing process. And I think that there's still a lot of uncertainty about impacts from the pandemic to local funding, but we will see how the both, property tax assessments, sort of local business impacts will continue to play out over the coming months. So it's a little bit unknown how that will affect the city budget, but we're getting some early indications of where there's going to be shortfalls just from the last couple of months. So hopefully it won't be too severe, but it's just something to keep in mind. And I think that's about it. I think things are moving forward. Obviously looking a lot differently than everyone thought it would be, but I hope that able to continue to meet and continue to work on some of the things that the subgroups were working on. And I understand if people have unpredictable schedules right now, but I think that continuity is important wherever possible. So that's about it for me. If anyone has any questions about any of those topics, just let me know.
Yeah, Lauren, you had mentioned that you're envisioning BCOS being a part of, in some regard, the climate action plan. What role or roles do you envision a part of that?
Yeah, well, I think it depends on what people's availability is. So we already have, draft versions of a solar potential study. We have draft versions of a vulnerability assessment. So getting feedback on those particular documents is helpful before they're released to the public. There's also things like we'll be coming up with specific strategies within different sectors. And then during the summer, there will be public engagement. We don't know exactly what that will look like. Traditionally, it's meant holding a public forum in City Hall. So it will be in some way virtual. I think engaging and participating in the public forum will be important. But to the level, I think it could range from if people want to give specific feedback on drafts to just encouraging people to attend or participate. The objective of all of this is to be able to have more data that we can make informed decisions about not only the role that city government can help in preventing future impacts, but also helping individuals become more informed about how they can be part of the conversation or what things that they can do individually. Because I have a lot of people contact the city and say, what role can I play? And it helps to be able to have more locally specific data to say, like, here's areas of Bloomington that, are experiencing more rainfall. Like maybe if we're going to have a citizen tree planting initiative, for instance, that would be a great place to start. So yeah, I think that I can follow up after this call as well with where we're at. We have a project website that I can share with all of you that has things as they're finished. I'm sensitive to everyone's differing amounts of time, but I would say if you check that out and let me know, do you want to be part of the active planning effort, or would you just like to see things as they're finished? You could have a BCOS subgroup, like the one that the UDO could switch to climate action planning subgroup, since there's not as much going on with the UDO right now. I don't think we've had Pam on the last couple of calls, so if there's someone else that wanted to step into that role and kind of facilitate that as like a policy subgroup, not specific to the UDL, but just a policy subgroup that looks at things, whether they're coming from within our department or council came last time to talk about subcommittees. Basically, as things are coming in draft form for the commission to provide feedback to them and voice their support as they move in front of city council. So one example, like the transportation demand management plan was just adopted last week as an advisory document. It was important to get feedback from various groups in order to have council feel comfortable to support the recommendations of that plan. I could see a similar thing playing out towards the end of the year as it moves to adoption, to have BCOs have a statement of support for the recommendations of the plan.
Awesome. Sounds good.
I was on that UDO working group with Pam, and I never was the driver of it. I was always a willing participant, but not like the leader of the cause. But I think that with Pam gone, I don't think we have anyone who wants to take on the role of advising on the UDO in as much detail as she was doing. You know, as far as future UDO concerns, I think we should, you know, as those come up, look at them sort of, as you were saying, more of as, you know, do we have a position one way or another? I don't feel a need to go into the UDOs in as much detail. And I like the idea of rolling over that working group possibly into climate action.
Yeah, and I think
I don't know who else in here was on that working group.
I don't think anyone was. It was Pam and, well, at the time, Matt.
Yeah, Matt Flaherty. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And well, Chris Reinhardt was like the first, wasn't he the first leader of it? I feel like Chris was.
Yeah, that makes sense.
He was here, yeah. And then it passed on to Matt and then Pam. And no, I'm not gonna do it. I don't have the passion that Pam had for going through the details of the UDO. Sorry.
And one thing that I could do in order to support you all is I get obviously the council packet. So on every, as I come up, I can send an email to the group and say, you know, here's what's up for consideration if it relates to the goals of this group. So, I mean, there's various ordinances and resolutions that are always coming up. Some of them are like towing, which I mean, there's a whole range of things, but I think as it relates to things that you might want to provide feedback directly on, that's a useful, yeah. So yeah, that's where that is. I'm excited it's moving forward. It is behind schedule, but it didn't really make sense to try to push for public engagement at a time that people's attention was justifiably elsewhere. I mean, that's still true in a huge regard, but we do need to keep moving forward to be able to be finished anytime close to the end of the year, since it is a long-term planning effort. I'm excited. It's not going to be duplicative of the Sustainability Action Plan, in that its focus is specifically on strategies for reducing carbon, which the Sustainability Action Plan is a bit broader than that. Yeah, it's action oriented. We've got a great small planning firm that's assisting. We're looking to make the engagement more equitable, but also putting a pause on seeing what other cities are doing to try to connect with citizens during this time. And things like social media engagement, et cetera, are changing rapidly. How cities communicate with people during this is changing. So it will hopefully look a bit different than traditional meetings, but there's probably not going to be as much in-person input. So trying to make sure we can still reach folks that online interface is not their preferred method of communication as well. So I think it'll be a challenge, but we're all adapting and trying to be adaptable. And that's part of the challenges of climate change, will be being adaptable to changing circumstances. So.
All right, great. Thank you, Lauren.
Mm-hmm.
Next item is working group updates. For the waste reduction, I do not have any updates. There was a web seminar this past week for the, I don't know the full name of it anymore, but it was a composting grant project from the USDA Urban Agriculture division, I forget. I sat in on that, and I think a couple other commissioners did as well. I'm going to say I half sat on it. I had it playing in the background while I was working, as you know, because I have to work. So I'll have to go back and look over that PowerPoint presentation that was provided. But I believe they had a deadline by the end of June for submission, or June 26th. So if that is something that we do want to pursue, we do have a tight timeline on that one. So do we have anyone from the Sustainable Business working group in the call? Okay. And are there any updates for the UDO? I guess with Pam not here, there won't be too much to update on that one, or at least a high level of detail. Okay, so moving on from working group updates, it has new business on the agenda, but I'm going to go ahead and just open the floor to anyone who would like to add any new business or comments. So for the rest of the commissioners, if you have any other thing you'd like to share with the group, please feel free to do so now.
If we do end up changing the UDO subgroup to the policy subgroup, that's something I'd be interested in being on.
Great, thanks, Ethan.
Wait, I'm confused. Is that the same thing as climate action, or is that different?
Yeah, I think we can talk about what it's named, but if it was named policy, then we wouldn't need to keep changing the name of the
Yeah.
group.
Oh, I see. And it would, and then it would sort of be a working group that would just actively address whatever the most current pressing policies were.
Yeah. So if, like, for instance, Sue and Matt came to visit last time, and they talked about the climate action subcommittee that they created for council, and then also the sustainable development one. So I was envisioning I could send out to the group when those packets are put up, if it relates to BCOS, letting them know, when's the next meeting, what kind of legislation or ordinance is being reviewed, and then there will be ongoing planning efforts that are a bit longer, like the climate action. So it could be either a specific resolution or ordinance that someone wants to attend and give comment about or input, or a longer term planning effort that would require digging further in and providing a little.
But it's basically a short list prepared by you for our subgroup to review.
Yeah.
Every month or whatever.
Yeah.
Okay.
That gives something pretty tangible that I think, according to your availability, if it was something that you felt passionate about, either because we could prepare a statement or someone could arrive and provide public comment on that particular issue. Oftentimes when something comes in front of council, especially right now, you might only have 4 public comments or little.
Yeah, I'm also interested in serving on that working group.
Wonderful.
All right. Well, if there are no more comments from commissioners, I guess we'll go ahead and adjourn this meeting.
I have another comment. I'm sorry. I didn't realize you had asked us if we had any last comments. Sorry.
Angela.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Oh, so Lauren, were you saying that in the climate action, they have a tree planting program planned in that?
I was just giving an example of one possible strategy or recommendation that might come out of it, as an example of why we're doing it.
Well, that's an interest of mine, and I would like to invest. I'd like to work on that further, if possible.
Yeah, definitely. That could be another possible collaboration with the Environmental Commission as well.
Mm-hmm. Are they doing, do you know if the environmental commission? Well, that's right. Well, I know there's a specific tree commission, but we've talked about this. That's not their job, is to make sure like how many there are. Their job is to make sure the ones we have are healthy. And then, so do you know what the environmental commission, or do they have specific like, tree planting community programs?
I think they were working on green infrastructure generally, with trees being a component of that.
Oh, I had not even heard the term green infrastructure. I guess I'm woke now to that. Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, that would be awesome I'd like to join to co-collaborate with them on that, or if we can have some official,
Yeah.
I don't know what you would recommend, or if anyone else on the council would be interested, but that's one thing I've been wanting to get this commission to do more of, is to pay attention to just adding trees, since that's one of the biggest ways we can combat climate change, and it serves so many other purposes.
Yeah, I think I can send you, so the chair of their commission is Andrew Gunther. I'll send you his contact, and then let's see ways that we might be able to work together, because I think that's a great point of intersection.
Okay, thank you.
Mhm.
Are there any other final comments from the commissioners? Okay, so we'll go ahead and adjourn, and our next meeting will be on July 14th. Thank you, everyone.